Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, it really does feel like, as always, we are once again reacting instantly to a commitment to Ohio State for the class of 2024 on the defensive side of the ball. We've been doing a lot of these recently. I mean, I guess that's good news for Ohio State and Ohio State fans.
Good news for them, bad news for us. A lot of work. It's tedious, but here we are. Yes, the commitment announced just now from Miles Lockhart, a cornerback out of Bassett High School in Chandler, Arizona, ranked the number 33 corner in the nation, the number 365 player overall from the 24/7 composite, the number 8 player in the state of Arizona, 5'10", 185 pounds. A guy who earned an offer from Ohio State at camp last year, and we always have this conversation about camp offers that when these guys show up and work out in front of coaches and they get that offer well in advance of the time that they're going to need to sign, that's a pretty significant tell that Ohio State wants this person, likes this person. And from the very outset, Miles Lockhart always had Ohio State on top, and now he finally makes his decision known.
Yeah, and this is not the first time Ohio State's pulled a corner out of the state of Arizona recently. Denzel Burke, of course, was as well, and he was someone else who was also kind of rated relatively low compared to some of the other guys Ohio State has brought in as corners in kind of recent years. You know, you look at like Jordan Hancock and J.K. Johnson were both, I believe, in the same class as Denzel Burke. Denzel Burke was by far the lowest ranked in that class, and then Denzel Burke is the one who's starting as a true freshman that fall. And, you know, Jordan Hancock, I think there's still a lot of hope for him. He's just had some injury stuff he's had to work through. He's looked really good when he's been on the field. And then J.K. Johnson has already transferred out. So, you know, this is a spot where Ohio State has had a relatively high hit rate at corner. They've just had a lot of guys who, for whatever reason, that's been a spot where guys have been committed and then flipped at the last minute. You know, Clark Phillips, for example, they lost Ryan Watts. Ryan Watts was the one who arrived at Ohio State and then played 1 year and then left. But then there was another guy who flipped to Texas the last minute. That's a spot where they've lost a bunch of guys, and they've kind of been kind of chasing a little bit recently, trying to get numbers back up. Now they have a good level of depth this year, but then, you know, this year now potentially Hancock and Denzel Burke could potentially, after this year, be off to the NFL. So, you know, you got to kind of keep that room restocked. Having Bryce West and now adding Miles Lockhart to that room, boy, that's a pretty good start to your corner class. And, you know, potentially they could add a third guy a little later on in the month.
Yeah, that third guy, we'll see. Aaron Scott, July 30th. All signs are pointing to maybe Ohio State and possibly Michigan. So look forward to following that one. You mentioned Denzel Burke is always one of the more interesting recruiting situations that I can remember, because he played mostly wide receiver in Arizona, and then this is all during like COVID, so there are no visits, and it's incredible foresight from Kerry Combs, I believe, at that point, to see what Denzel Burke could become and to offer him. He was the number 199 player in the nation, number 9 athlete. He wasn't ranked as a receiver or a corner, and ends up, as you said, starting as a true freshman for Ohio State. Lockhart, smaller than Burke, but is a dynamic athlete, will also play running back for his high school team this year, and will wear a lot of hats for his squad, which is generally one of the top programs in Arizona. And so, yeah, as you said, the second cornerback in the class. Ohio State is building kind of a little bit of a pipeline to Arizona. You mentioned Denzel Burke, Lathan Ransom, Keon Grays, also from Arizona. And since Dylan Raiola is now a Georgian, he no longer factors into this discussion. But I guess, Jack Miller being a previous Arizonan. So a nice little pipeline going. But as you said, there's more to come, and we've talked about this secondary class for Ohio State, 6, 7 guys, and if you can get Aaron Scott as your third corner, they've already got Jalen McClain as a safety. They've got sights on some pretty big possibilities at safety as well. KJ Bolden being one of those who is arguably the top safety in the nation. So they're getting to where they need to be. This is a good step. And, have we decided on a number, as you've talked to maybe Mark or Alex for Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning? Is there a number for the secondary this year?
It feels like 6 to 7 probably in the secondary altogether. Maybe three corners, 4 safeties, something like that is probably about right. This is going to be a big class. This is going to be like 26, maybe 27 guys. That's a monster class for Ohio State. That's a class that, it feels like Ohio State constantly is signing 21-man classes while other people are signing 26, 27. This is a year where Ohio State is potentially signing like 26, 27 guys. And they have, what's I think maybe most encouraging is they have such a good start. You've got a good start at safety. KJ Bolden announcing August 5th. He's a possibility. Peyton Woodyard, currently committed to Georgia. He's a possibility. You got the 2 corners now, potentially adding a third. You got 2 linebackers already, Peyton Pierce and Garrett Stover. You've got potentially a third with Kingston Viliamu-Asa announcing on July 23rd, I believe. You got Justin Scott on the interior of the defensive line. You're chasing a bunch of other 5-star guys there. I mean, this has the potential to not only be an incredibly deep class on the defensive side of the ball, but just as an incredibly talented, like loaded defensive class. And the offensive side of the ball, the class is already virtually full. You got a couple more spots to fill there, but the possibility of this being this level of a defensive class with this many guys to restock so many different spots, like that, this could be, I think, and maybe is potentially on the way to being one of, if not the best classes in Ohio State history.
And for the longest time, there was one defensive commit in the class and all of these offensive guys. And you seeing, Ohio State would get another commit from a 5-star receiver, and Michigan fans or Georgia fans would dismiss it. And it's like, tell us when they get some defensive commits. Well, the defensive commits are starting to roll in. And, we talk about it every year at this point. If they hit all the guys that they seem to be leading for, and reality then sets in, and you never bat 1,000. Buckeyes already aren't batting 1,000, losing Marquise Lightfoot, the defensive end of Miami. So I think that reality is already set in. Like, you're not going to get them all. Plus, I think last year still scarred some people, the way the defensive ends ended up last year. But this is a time for renewed hope. And the Buckeyes are doing all they can to, the coaches, the assistant coaches, knowing that, yes, Ryan Day said, we're going to need to score 50 points in the playoffs, just like he said that last year. And that's going to be the way it is moving forward. But also, it would be good if you only give up 30 points in the playoffs instead of 45, something like that. So let's find a way to put a defense together that limits the amount of scoring that we have to do, even though we are going to go out there planning to score 50, but hoping to only need to score 42. And, find a way to marry those two things. And if you can get a bunch of top 100 guys like they're in on right now, it could be a very busy month for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, let's just run down who's potentially coming now for Ohio State, later this month and early next month. You've got Lockhart today, obviously, is already in. Kingston Viliamu-Asa, the linebacker, 4-star linebacker out of California, he's committing on July 23rd. Aaron Scott, the corner out of Springfield, Ohio, committing on July 30th. KJ Bolden, the 5-star safety from Beaufort, Georgia, committing August 5th. Edric Houston, the 5-star defensive lineman, also from Beaufort, Georgia, committing August 22nd. Dylan Stewart, a 5-star defensive end out of Washington, D.C. He doesn't have a date set, but sounded like that might be a before the high school season starts, so a July/August type timeline. Those are all guys who have Ohio State kind of at the top of their list right now, or near the top of their list. All guys who are really plausible, a bunch who are likely, but guys, the rest of them are plausible to, Ohio State's the favorite, Ohio State's kind of 50-50. Those guys are all, you add those guys, that's 5 more guys, 2 more 5-star guys, 3 more 5-star guys, a safety, 2 defensive linemen, Aaron Scott, who's a top 50 kind of player, Kingston Viliamu-Asa, who's like a top 100 kind of player. That's every level of the defense. You're adding a safety, you're adding a corner, you're adding an interior defensive lineman, or at least a strong side end, maybe /3 tech. You're adding a, more of a pure rush end like that. That's, that you're running out of places to have people get concerned about. Then it'll swing back to, well, boy, they could really use another offensive lineman. Sure, Tony. Sure, they got another big defensive commitment. Let's talk about the offensive line. We got to worry about the offensive line now. This is a team now where I think you're starting to see, this might be the case this year, and you're starting to see with the recruits that they're potentially bringing in, this could be the case longer term as well. This is not a team where the team will go as far as the offense will carry them, because we've seen that for years. The thing that has kept Ohio State from winning the national championship in 2020 and in 2021 and in 2022 was, boy, the defense really let them down and had, just sometimes it was terrible all season. Sometimes it was just a few big plays and a few key moments. You're getting to the point where this fall, it may be a little bit more balanced. And even if the offense is not quite as good as it has been the past couple of years, that might still be enough to get them to very, very high levels, because the defense just has to be a little better. The defense doesn't have to be Jim Tressel era stats. The defense just has to be 41 points is enough to win a college football playoff game. And they don't have to get that much better for that to be the case.
Yeah. And right now, so they're now at 18 commits. Over the next 6 weeks, that could grow to maybe 23, something like that, which I think this class wouldn't shock people if it's around 28 to 30. And so that leaves them room to get another offensive lineman if they want. They've got 4. Gives them room for the portal, gives them some breathing room in case they lose people. Then you can bring some guys in. So it would seem to be a good situation where they're in if they can land these defensive guys. Now they've got a pretty complete look. And then it's like, okay, what is missing? What needs a little bolstering? And where can we maybe, okay, no more running backs. All right, 3 is good. Let's focus on fullbacks now, something like that. But as Ryan Day always says, we can get our head out of the water and assess the situation. And there will be some assessment going on after about August 22nd when Edric Houston makes his decision. And then they'll be like, okay, where are we at? What do we need? Let's go. Tom, anything else?
No, just think this is quite a fun and busy time. And this is what is normally the quietest time of year. This is typically the time of year when college football coaches are on vacation, the first half of the month of July. And things have been pretty busy the first half of the month of July. So if this is what it's like in the quiet time, Tony, what's it going to be like during the busy time when we go to Indianapolis in 2.5 weeks for Big Ten Media Days? It's going to be quite a fun time at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Great
time to become a member, as always. As Tom says, for a monthly price of a Chazy Lounge Store pizza. Is that correct?
Something like that, yes. Please help us teach Tony to read by becoming a member at BuckeyeHuddle.com.
This is how you spelled it, Chazy Lounge Store. Anyway, I blame you, Tom. Thank you all for joining us. As always, find us at youtube.com/BuckeyeHuddle, Facebook.com/BuckeyeHuddle, and of course, BuckeyeHuddle.com. Thank you all very much. We'll talk to you guys later.